Have you ever been so desperate that prayer was your only option? So broken that all you could do was fall to your knees and beg God for a miracle?
Tonight, I'm going to share with you a true story that will shake you to your core. A story about a mother who had nothing left to give her children for Christmas. A story about faith when everything seems lost. And a miracle so extraordinary that even the most skeptical person would have to pause and wonder, is God really there? But I need to warn you, this isn't your typical feel-good Christmas story. This is raw. This is real. And what happened next, nobody saw coming. So if you're ready, stay with me until the end, because what Jesus did for this family will leave you speechless. December 18th, 2019, just 7 days before Christmas, Sarah Mitchell stood in her tiny kitchen in Columbus, Ohio, staring at an eviction notice taped to her refrigerator.
3 months behind on rent? The landlord had given her until December 23rd to come up with $2,400, or she and her 3 children would be out on the street. $2,400. She opened her wallet. $12.37. That was it. That was all that stood between her family and homelessness during the coldest winter Ohio had seen in a decade. 6 months earlier, everything had been different. Sarah had a good job as a nurse at Columbus General Hospital. Her husband David worked construction. They weren't rich, but they were making it. They had a small apartment, food on the table, and most importantly, they had each other.
Then, in June, David was in an accident at a construction site. A beam fell. He survived, but the injuries left him unable to work. The medical bills started piling up. Their savings disappeared in 3 months. Sarah picked up every extra shift she could, but it wasn't enough. The insurance company denied their claims, saying the accident was due to negligence. They hired a lawyer, but the case was moving slowly. Too slowly. And now, here she was. A single income trying to cover what 2 could barely manage. She'd already sold everything valuable they owned. The TV, the laptop, her wedding ring. She'd taken her children out of their after-school programs. They ate rice and beans most nights. The only thing she hadn't touched was her Bible and a small wooden cross her grandmother had given her. That evening, her 3 children came home from school. Emma was 9, Lucas was 7, and little Sophia was just 5 years old. They burst through the door with their usual energy, their backpacks bouncing. "Mom, Mom, tomorrow is the last day before Christmas break," Emma announced. Sarah forced a smile, but inside, her heart was breaking. "And Mrs. Henderson said we should write our letters to Santa tonight," Lucas added, his eyes bright with excitement. 5-year-old Sophia tugged at Sarah's sleeve. "Mommy, can Santa bring Daddy home for Christmas? Can he make Daddy's back all better?" Sarah felt the tears welling up. She knelt down and pulled all 3 children into her arms, holding them tight so they wouldn't see her face. Let's have dinner first, okay? Then we'll talk about Christmas." That night, after putting the children to bed, Sarah sat alone in the living room. There was no Christmas tree, no decorations, no presents hidden in closets, nothing. The apartment was cold because she'd been keeping the heat as low as possible to save on bills. She could hear her children whispering in their bedroom. They were trying to be quiet, but she could make out their words. "Do you think Santa knows we moved?" Sophia asked. "Santa knows everything," Emma replied, trying to sound confident. "But maybe we shouldn't ask for too much this year. Mom looks really tired." "I don't need toys," Lucas said softly. "I just want Daddy to come home." Sarah covered her mouth to keep from sobbing out loud. These beautiful, innocent children who had already lost so much, and now they were going to lose even more. In 5 days, they'd be evicted. She had no family nearby to take them in. The shelters were full this time of year. What was she going to do? At midnight, Sarah couldn't take it anymore. She walked to the small corner of the living room where she kept her grandmother's wooden cross. She fell to her knees right there on the cold floor, and she prayed. "Jesus," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Jesus, I know I haven't been the best Christian.
I know I don't pray as much as I should. I know I've made mistakes. But please, please don't punish my children for my failures. They're just babies, Lord. They don't understand why their daddy can't play with them anymore. They don't understand why there's no food in the fridge. They still believe in miracles. They still believe in you. I'm not asking for wealth. I'm not asking for a mansion or a fancy car. I just need $2,400. That's it. Just enough to keep a roof over their heads. Just enough to give them one more Christmas in a home. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. I know you parted the Red Sea. I know you fed 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish. I know you raised Lazarus from the dead. So I know that $2,400 is nothing to you. Please, Jesus, please, I'm begging you, send us a miracle. She prayed for hours. She prayed until her knees ached and her voice was hoarse. She prayed until she had no more words left, just tears and gasps and desperate silent pleas. Finally, at 3 a.m, exhausted and emotionally drained, Sarah fell asleep right there on the floor, still clutching the wooden cross. Day 1, the first sign, 9 to 11. The next morning, December 19th, Sarah woke up stiff and sore from sleeping on the floor. She made breakfast for the kids, scrambled eggs stretched thin with extra milk to make them go further. Mom, can I walk to school by myself today? Emma asked. Jessica's mom can't pick us up anymore, and I know the bus costs money. 9 years old and already trying to help carry the weight. Sarah's heart broke a little more. It's okay, baby. We'll take the bus. After dropping the kids at school, Sarah went to work at the hospital. She was exhausted, running on maybe 3 hours of sleep, but she couldn't afford to miss a shift. During her lunch break, she sat in the break room, staring at her phone. She'd been job hunting for weeks, looking for any side work she could do in the evenings, but so far, nothing. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Is this Sarah Mitchell? She hesitated, then replied, Yes, who is this? My name is Robert Chen. I'm a lawyer. I've been looking into your husband's case. Can we meet? Sarah's hands started shaking. Another lawyer? They couldn't afford their current lawyer, let alone a new one. I'm sorry, but we don't have money for legal fees right now. The response came immediately. I'm not asking for money. There are some irregularities in your case that concern me. I'd like to help. Pro bono. Pro bono. Free. They met that evening at a coffee shop. Robert Chen was a young attorney, probably early 30s, with kind eyes and a professional demeanor. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm going to be straight with you, he said, pulling out a folder. Your current lawyer is, let's just say he's not very good. The insurance company should have paid out months ago. The evidence is clear, but your lawyer missed several filing deadlines and didn't submit key documents. Sarah felt sick. What does that mean? It means I'm going to file an emergency motion. With the right pressure and the right paperwork, we can get this resolved quickly. I'm talking weeks, maybe even days. But why would you do this for free? Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. Robert smiled. 2 years ago, I was in a car accident. I couldn't work for 6 months. A stranger, a nurse actually, used her lunch break every day to visit me in the hospital. She didn't know me. She just said she felt called to pray for me. That kindness changed my life. He looked directly at Sarah. I never got to thank her, so now I try to pass it forward. Consider this my thank you. Sarah left that meeting feeling something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. December 20th, 5 days until eviction. Sarah was working her shift when her supervisor called her into the office. Her heart sank. Was she being fired? Had she made a mistake with a patient? Sarah, sit down, her supervisor, Margaret, said gently. This was it. This was the end. Sarah, the staff has noticed how hard things have been for you lately. We also know you've been picking up every extra shift available and you never complain. You're one of the best nurses we have. Sarah braced herself for the butt. So we took up a collection. All of us, from the doctors to the janitors. Everyone chipped in what they could. Margaret slid an envelope across the desk. It's not much, but we hope it helps. With trembling hands, Sarah opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $850. She burst into tears right there in the office. I
I don't know what to say. Thank you. Thank you so much. Margaret smiled warmly. We take care of our own. That's what family does. $850. Combined with the 12 she had, that was $862. Still not enough for rent, but it was more than she'd had yesterday. The miracle was starting.
But Sarah needed more than money. That afternoon, when she picked up the kids from school, Emma handed her a note from the teacher. "Mom, Mrs. Henderson wants to talk to you." Sarah's stomach dropped. Now what? She walked into the classroom nervously. Mrs. Henderson was an older woman, a veteran teacher who'd been at the school for 30 years. "Mrs. Mitchell, thank you for coming. I wanted to talk to you about the Christmas program. Emma is supposed to play Mary in our nativity play, but I noticed she doesn't have a costume." Sarah's cheeks burned with embarrassment. I'm sorry, I can't afford." Mrs. Henderson held up her hand. "I wasn't asking you to buy one. I already made one. I made costumes for all 3 of your children. I just wanted to make sure it was okay with you." She pulled out 3 beautiful handmade costumes, one for Mary, one for a shepherd, and a little angel costume for Sophia. "The play is tomorrow evening. All the parents will be there. I think your children would love to participate." Sarah couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears streaming down her face again. Mrs. Henderson stepped forward and hugged her. "Honey, I've been teaching for 30 years. I know when a family is struggling, and I know when a mother is doing everything she can. You're a good mom. Don't you ever forget that." December 21st. 4 days until eviction. The Christmas play was that evening, and despite everything, Sarah was determined to be there for her children. But first, she had to survive the day. At work, one of the doctors pulled her aside. "Sarah, I heard about your situation. My wife and I would like to help. We don't have much cash right now, but we have a second car we never use. It's just sitting in our garage. If you need transportation, it's yours. No strings attached." A car. They'd sold theirs 3 months ago. Sarah had been taking the bus everywhere, adding hours to her commute. I can't accept that," she stammered. "Yes, you can," the doctor said firmly. "We're Christians, Sarah. The Bible says when you give, give freely. This is us giving freely." Later that afternoon, Robert Chen called with news. "Sarah, I filed the emergency motion yesterday. The insurance company's lawyers called me this morning. They're ready to settle. They know they can't win this. We're negotiating the amount now, but you should see a check within 2 weeks." 2 weeks. The eviction was in 4 days. The money would come too late. But still, it was something. It was progress. That evening, Sarah and David, who came in his wheelchair, sat in the school auditorium watching their 3 children perform in the Christmas play. Emma was a beautiful Mary, speaking her lines clearly and confidently. Lucas made them laugh as an energetic shepherd, and little Sophia, dressed as an angel, stole the show simply by waving enthusiastically at her parents every few seconds. For just a moment, Sarah forgot about the eviction notice. After the play, as they were leaving, a woman approached them. She was elderly, probably in her 70s, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "Excuse me, are you the Mitchell family?" Sarah nodded cautiously. "Yes, that's us. My name is Dorothy. I'm a friend of Mrs. Henderson. She told me about your situation. I hope you don't mind." "Oh, no, it's okay," Sarah said, though she felt embarrassed that so many people knew their business. Dorothy reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "My husband passed away 3 years ago. We never had children of our own, but we loved them dearly. Every year we set aside money to help a family in need at Christmas. This year, I'd like that family to be yours." She pressed the envelope into Sarah's hands. "Don't open it now. Wait until you get home. And please don't refuse it. It would honor my husband's memory." Before Sarah could respond, Dorothy walked away, disappearing into the crowd of parents. In the car, Sarah's hands shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for $1,000. Sarah started sobbing so hard she had to pull over. David reached over and took her hand. "It's happening," he whispered, his own voice thick with emotion. "The miracle is happening." December 22nd. 3 days until eviction. 2 days until Christmas Eve. Sarah woke up that morning and did the math. $850 from the hospital staff, $1,000 from Dorothy. That was $1,850.
she was still $550 short. So close. They were so close. She went to work, praying under her breath constantly. Jesus, you've brought us this far. Please, please finish what you started. At lunch, her phone rang. It was her landlord, Mr. Kowalski. Her heart stopped. Was he calling to push up the eviction date, to tell her it was over? Hello, she answered, her voice shaking. Mrs. Mitchell, it's Stan Kowalski. Listen, I need to talk to you about something. Here it comes, Sarah thought, the final blow. I got a call this morning from a man named Father Michael from St. Catherine's Church downtown. Do you know him? No, sir, Sarah said quietly. She didn't even go to St. Catherine's. They couldn't afford the gas to drive to any church lately. Well, apparently someone told him about your situation. He asked me how much you owed. I told him. Then he asked if I'd be willing to reduce the amount if he could get the church to help. Sarah held her breath. I said yes. Look, Mrs. Mitchell, I'm not a monster. I know you're trying. I've been where you are. So here's the deal. The church is going to pay $1,500. You come up with the remaining $900 and we'll call it even. I'll even waive the late fees. $900. She had $1,850. That meant after paying rent, she'd still have $950 left. Enough for food. Enough to get through the next few weeks until the insurance settlement came through. Mr. Kowalski, thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Thank whoever's been praying for you. Someone up there is looking out for your family. Someone up there. Jesus. Jesus was looking out for them. That afternoon, Sarah went to St. Catherine's Church to thank Father Michael. He was an older priest with a warm smile and laugh lines around his eyes. Mrs. Mitchell, we're happy to help, but I have to be honest with you. I didn't seek you out. A young woman came to the church yesterday. She didn't give her name. She just said she'd heard about a family in need and wanted to make a donation to help them. She gave us $1,500 in cash and your address. Who was she? Sarah asked. I need to thank her. Father Michael shook his head. I have no idea. She left before I could ask, but she said something that stuck with me. She said, God answered someone's prayer, and now I'm answering his call to help. A stranger, an anonymous angel, someone they'd never met, had given $1,500 to help them. Sarah sat in the church pew and wept. Not tears of sadness this time, but tears of awe. Jesus was orchestrating a symphony of miracles, using people she'd never even met to answer her prayer. December 24th, Christmas Eve. Sarah walked into Mr. Kowalski's office with $2,400 in cash and checks. She'd paid the rent. They weren't getting evicted. They had a home for Christmas. You did it, Mr. Kowalski said, genuine surprise in his voice. I didn't think you'd pull it off, but you did it. I didn't do it, Sarah said softly. Jesus did. She went home to an apartment that suddenly felt warmer, brighter, more hopeful than it had in months. The eviction notice came off the fridge and went straight into the trash. That evening, there was a knock at the door. Sarah opened it to find Mrs. Henderson standing there with her husband, their arms full of bags. Merry Christmas, Mrs. Henderson said with a huge smile. May we come in? The bags were full of food, a turkey, potatoes, vegetables, bread, milk, juice, and even Christmas cookies. The school did a food drive, Mrs. Henderson explained. When families donated, we let them choose which family in need would receive their donation. Everyone chose your family, Sarah. Every single person. More bags arrived, then more. Soon the entire kitchen was full of food, enough to last them through January, maybe even February. But that wasn't all. Mrs. Henderson's husband carried in a small Christmas tree and a box of decorations. Can't have Christmas without a tree, he said simply. The children squealed with delight. Within an hour, the apartment was transformed. There was a tree. There were decorations. There was food in the fridge. There was hope in the air. That night, Sarah tucked her children into bed. They were so excited they could barely sleep. Mom, Emma said softly, did God hear our prayers? Yes, baby, Sarah whispered, kissing her forehead. Yes, he did. Is Daddy going to get better? Lucas asked. Yes. The doctors say with the settlement money, Daddy can get the surgery he needs. He'll get better. I knew it, little Sophia said with complete confidence.
I knew Jesus would help us." After the children fell asleep, Sarah and David sat together in the living room, looking at the twinkling lights on their Christmas tree. David was still in his wheelchair, still in pain, but there was peace in his eyes. "From $12 to this," he said quietly, "in less than a week." "God is real," Sarah whispered. "I knew it before, but now I know it."
December 25th, Christmas morning. Sarah woke up early, at peace for the first time in months. She walked into the living room and froze. Under the Christmas tree were presents, wrapped presents. How? She hadn't bought anything. David wheeled up beside her, equally confused. "Did you?" "No," Sarah breathed. "Did you?" They looked at each other in amazement. They tore into the wrapping paper, laughing and shouting. For Emma, there were books and art supplies. For Lucas, there were toy cars and building blocks. For Sophia, there was a stuffed bunny she'd been wanting for months. But there was something else. At the bottom of the pile was a large envelope addressed to Sarah and David. Sarah opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a letter and another check. The letter read, "Dear Mitchell family, you don't know us, but we know you. We're part of a ministry at St. Catherine's that helps families in crisis. Father Michael told us your story, and we were so moved that we wanted to do more than just help with rent. We know what it's like to struggle. We know what it's like to wonder if God is listening. We've been there. And just like God sent people to help us when we needed it, we believe He's calling us to help you. The check enclosed is a gift. Use it however you need. Pay bills, buy food, get your husband the medical care he needs. Whatever God lays on your heart. We don't need thanks. We don't need recognition. We just need you to know that you're not alone. You're never alone. God sees you. He hears you, and He loves you. Merry Christmas, the body of Christ." Sarah looked at the check. $10,000. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. David lowered himself down beside her, holding her as they both cried. The children gathered around them, confused, but sensing something important was happening. "Why are you crying, Mommy?" Sophia asked, wiping out her mother's tears with her small hand. Sarah pulled all three children close, David wrapping his arms around all of them. "Because Jesus heard us, babies. Jesus heard us, and He answered. He sent us a miracle." It's been 5 years since that Christmas. I reached out to Sarah Mitchell to hear what happened next, and with her permission, I'm sharing the rest of the story. With the $10,000 and the insurance settlement, David was able to get the surgery he needed. It took months of physical therapy, but he made a full recovery. He's back to work now, doing carpentry instead of heavy construction. Sarah still works at Columbus General Hospital. She was promoted to head nurse 2 years ago. The family moved out of that small apartment into a modest house with a yard where the kids can play. Emma is 14 now and wants to be a doctor. Lucas is 12 and loves building things with his dad. Sophia is 10 and volunteers at St. Catherine's Church every Saturday, helping with their food ministry. But here's what Sarah told me that gave me chills. That week changed everything for me. I learned that God doesn't always answer prayers the way we expect. I asked for $2,400. He gave me so much more. Not just money, but a community, a church family, hope, faith, proof that He's real and He cares. She paused, and I could hear the emotion in her voice over the phone. Every Christmas, we gather as a family and we tell the story. We tell our children, now that they're old enough to understand, just how close we came to losing everything. And then we tell them about the miracle, about how strangers became angels, about how God used ordinary people to do extraordinary things. We don't just celebrate Jesus' birth on Christmas anymore. We celebrate His presence, His power, His love, because He showed up for us when we needed Him most. So, what do we take away from Sarah's story? First, never underestimate the power of prayer. Sarah prayed with everything she had, and God heard her. He always hears. Sometimes the answer is yes.
Sometimes it's no. And sometimes it's wait. But he always hears. Second, miracles are real. They happen. Maybe not always in the way we expect, but they happen. God is still in the business of parting seas and feeding multitudes. He's still in the business of saving his people. Third, we are all called to be part of someone else's miracle. Look at Sarah's story. The lawyer who worked for free, the hospital staff who took up a collection, Mrs. Henderson who made costumes, Dorothy who gave $1,000, the anonymous woman who donated $1,500, the church ministry that gave $10,000. God didn't drop money from the sky. He used people, ordinary people who felt called to help, people who chose to be the answer to someone's prayer. Maybe you're watching this right now and you're in a situation like Sarah was. You're desperate. You're broken. You've got an eviction notice or a stack of bills or a health crisis, and you don't know where to turn. Let me tell you something. God sees you. He hears you, and he's already working on your miracle. It might not come in the way you expect. It might not come in the timing you want. But if you pray and you believe and you hold on to faith, even when everything seems lost, he will show up. He showed up for Sarah. He'll show up for you. And maybe you're watching this and you're comfortable. You're not struggling right now. You have enough. You have more than enough. Let me tell you something else. Someone near you is praying for a miracle. Someone in your community, your church, your workplace, your neighborhood is where Sarah was 5 years ago. They're desperate and broken and about to give up. You could be the answer to their prayer. That's what Christmas is really about. Not just that God sent Jesus to save us from our sins, though that's the foundation of everything, but also that God calls us to be Jesus to each other, to be his hands and feet, to be his love in action. So as we celebrate this Christmas season, let's remember Sarah's story. Let's remember that miracles are real, prayer works, and God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. If this story touched your heart, I want you to do something for me. Share it. Share it with someone who needs hope right now. Share it with someone who's struggling to believe. Share it with someone who needs to remember that God is real and he cares. And maybe, just maybe, let this story inspire you to be part of someone else's miracle. Because that's what Jesus does. He takes our prayers, our faith, our willingness to help each other, and he weaves them together into something beautiful, something miraculous, something that shocks everyone, just like he did for Sarah Mitchell and her 3 children on that Christmas 5 years ago. God bless you all, and Merry Christmas.